I'm at the Queensland State Hockey Centre to catch up with Matt Wells, the current coach of the QAS program. So Matt, what is the QAS? What does it mean? Where did it evolve from?
Well, the QAS is the Queensland Academy of Sport, so it's, the Institute of Sport where I guess all the elite athletes in the state that have been identified in their sports, I guess get training privileges and the elite training services to take them to the next level, obviously international level.
Current objectives for the QAS?
Obviously, it's a program where we're developing athletes to prepare them and ready them for international competition and to represent Australia.
And that's your role?
Yeah, my role as the coach is to obviously part of it is identification, but it's also putting a program in place that allows these athletes to come through and get high-level coaching and training to take them to that next level.
So your involvement with Hockey Queensland?
Yeah, I guess we're linked to the QAS and Hockey Queensland. We all work together, joined together, which is really good. I mean, all the players are Hockey Queensland players, so we have to work together where we use them in a QAS sense from Hockey Queensland. So yeah, it's two separate things but linked together.
So how many players have you got in the current program?
So in the current program, on scholarship we have 22 athletes. 10 of those guys are actually based in Perth, and really we don't see them at all during the year. They'll come back into the program during an AHL sort of phase. Being Olympic year, it's pretty tough because they're in an Olympic program in Perth, so their focus main focus is that. The 12 guys that are left here are sort of development guys that are a bit younger coming through, and the idea is to keep working with those guys. So hopefully post-Olympics, when guys sort of retire and move on, we've got another group ready to step up.
So you talked about a scholarship. How does a player get a scholarship?
The guys get identified through national championships, so obviously through state championships here in Queensland. We pick our state teams and state squads. We go away to national championships. From a national championship on performance, you've got national selectors, other NTC coaches around the networks, watching in that are selecting groups of players to form national squads, whether it be from under 18s and national futures, which includes under 21s, but also you've got national junior squad, which is sort of up to sort of under 21 age group. You have a national development squad, then you have the national squad itself.
And your expectations of the players in the QAS group?
Oh, look, I've got high expectations of this group. Obviously, I want the guys to be act in a professional manner, but also set a high standard so that people looking in from the outside look in and say, well, that's a group I want to be part of. It's something people can strive to be part of. I want it to be an elite group, but at the same time, I want to develop the guys and work the guys hard so that if they do transition into the AIS, into a Perth environment, the transition's quite easy for those guys because it's a similar program here.
So you've got how many you've got 22 on scholarship?
Yep.
12 of them are in Perth?
Yeah, 22 on scholarship, 10 guys are in Perth on AIS scholarships or involved in the national program of some sort. We have 12 guys here in Brisbane, centrally located in Brisbane, in the training environment here.
So after that Olympics, how many are you expecting to stay in the QAS squad?
Good question. I think post-Olympics I've tried to suss out with some of the senior guys in Perth who's going to continue to play, who are the guys that want to retire and move on. The indication is the guys are going to keep playing, which is good and healthy for us. We've got some older guys in that group that are sort of between 30 and 33, which is sort of getting along in the sport. From the younger guys, there'll be a couple of guys I imagine will sort of go out of the QAS group, and that's just sort of how the cycle works. I'm actually hoping that there's a couple of guys here in Brisbane will get picked up and move on to Perth and become young juniors in a national program based over there.
And you've got the players coming through to replace, if those 12 players left tomorrow, have you got the players to hold Queensland where it's been over the past few years?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Big replacement, isn't it?
Nah, well, look, I don't think we've got 12 players to replace them. Obviously the cycle is that you lose a couple of players every year. There's a couple of players that sort of come through into the program, whether they be younger guys. We tend to be pretty strong in national championships. We tend to have quite heavy numbers get selected in national programs, so it's quite healthy with the guys coming through. Obviously I'm probably being a little bit stricter now to what I'm looking for, and really trying to pick the cream of the crop and making sure that it is elite players and guys that do aspire to play for Australia and that have the potential to, that are in this program.
So stricter now opposed to when you first started, which was how long ago?
Yeah, it started 3 years ago now. I guess 3 years ago I wasn't sure about the player base and who there was around, and I was pretty open, and I was open to having a bigger group and being able to use more players. So, for example, last year we had roughly 25 guys training. We've now cut that down to, we've got 15 guys training. So we've cut that by 10, hoping that we want to design this elite group and really push and give the guys that are here training us the better opportunity.
So what are their goals and your goals for 2012?
The guys we've got on scholarship at the moment, the majority of them are under 21, so there's a real heavy focus for 21s in July, and that they guys form a nucleus of the 21s team.
And that's a national championship,
That's at a national championship. I'm expecting a good performance from those guys. Like I said, they've got a really strong nucleus of potentially a really quality side. So that's our focus. It's a long way away, and there's a lot of build-up and preparation to that. So I've been pretty conscious to make sure that we sort of have 4-week blocks of training. We have a week off. The training hasn't been as heavy as it was last year. We're just a bit conscious of making sure we don't overload, and then by the time July comes, when they've got to play at their best, that they're fatigued and they're drained. So
that's a group for the 21s. Is there a seniors national tournament that's coming up?
Yeah, seniors nationals. The AHL is in October. So I'm imagining there'll be some guys from the 21s group that will come through. We've got Daniel Beale and Kane Posselt from last year that were involved in the AHL. They'll be at 21s. I'm assuming that they will come through. They're in pretty good form at the moment. They'll be involved in the AHL this year. There could be another couple of younger guys that have proved they're worthy of a spot in the AHL that could come through as well.
So AHL being the Australian
Hockey League. So it's the senior national championship. So it's sort of the pinnacle in Australia. It's our marquee event for Australian hockey. So obviously with 10 guys in Perth in the national program, all 10 of those guys are involved in our AHL team. It takes a big chunk of your starting group, I guess. So the spots are limited there, and it's good because there's plenty of competition for guys wanting to get those last couple of spots. So
you're in Queensland, you've got 10 athletes based in Perth. The competition's not until October. How do you link the two together with the Olympics in between?
It's a pretty tough job. Like I said, the focus is not on AHL at the moment. The focus is on the group I've got here in Brisbane. It's about developing these players. Sometimes it's also not always about developing for a national championship. You're developing individuals, so it's about what are the things that they've got to work on individually. It's about getting them individually to the level required and to the standards.
Technology that you use these days in the game?
Yeah, look, plenty of video work and analysis goes into the game, but also now a lot of GPS stuff. So this year we've purchased GPS equipment. We're really heavy into getting information and getting data off the guys about the output on the field during games, during trainings, and comparing it, and then also linking video to the GPS so that we can actually visually see when they're putting in their efforts on the field and where we're getting the benefits.
And that's been the focus for you with this technology is obviously on the players, but how's it improved your coaching ability?
I guess it makes it a little bit easier. Also, it can back things up. If you think a guy's really struggling, then the technology can tell you whether he is or he isn't. If a guy is really outstanding and doing a lot of hard running, that tells you that as well. But you might not think that someone's working hard enough, and it's telling you otherwise. So it's good to have that reassurance, but it's also it's good to know that are we working hard enough? From a design of training is you try and design your trainings around games, and so that you're creating the same intensity and tone, I guess, that you would play a match. And that information tells you, well, are you doing that? Are your trainings hard enough? Do the boys need to train harder?
And how are the players taking the technology?
Yeah, they take it really well. I think it adds pressure. When you're wearing a GPS, they make sure they do the running, whereas sometimes they can sort of sneak out of a bit of running if they haven't got anything on them. So
they haven't worked out how to get around it when they've got the GPS on.
No,
anyway. They don't jump on a bike and sort of stick it on the wheel.
It's a bit hard when they're out there. So the GPS tells you if they're on the bike, because it'll tell you there won't be any movement. It'll just have an on-the-spot dot. So it's good. Puts a bit more pressure on the players, but it's telling us we're going in the right direction.
Matt Wells, thanks for spending time with Hockey Zone.
Thanks very much.
Get into Hockey Zone Thursday night, 7:30.